All mounting brackets are polyurethane lined to minimize noise and vibrations. Metal Mule, engineered to be different. Proud sponsors of the bike reviews on Adventure Bike TV.
Have you got a sad and empty man cave? An empty man cave that would be fulfilled by the presence of an iconic adventure bike. An adventure bike that is equally at home on the tarmac and off-road. An adventure bike that you could get a stunning example of for under £5 grand. Well, we think we've got the perfect bike for you. And it just so happens that that perfect bike is the same bike that our viewers voted for as one of the 3 bikes, along with the AJP PR7 and the Yamaha T7, that they wanted to see reviewed on the show. That bike is the Yamaha 660 Tenere. Now all 3 bikes got exactly the same number of votes on the show. The PR7 is a bit tricky to get hold of because we're not even sure they're going to be selling it in this country because it doesn't have ABS. And the T7 is, what can we say, it's in high demand at the moment. Now you may remember Jay Hurst from the show when he was doing this.
There's a naked...
Right, so in the absence of naked people this time round, you've got your bike with you, the Tenere, which I know you bought from new. So just explain to me, what was it about that particular bike that made you decide to go for that one?
Actually, it was a friend of mine. He had a massive interest in the bike, and we went to have a look at a couple together as friends, just travelling around, having a look at them, and I wasn't actually that interested in them, and I just fell in love with it over a period of time.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I know you've done quite a few bits to it, so there's some bits of it that aren't standard. What are the kind of things you've done to it?
I've done things like I've added pannier racks, I've changed the exhaust system, I've put a better bash plate on it, I've put handlebar risers on it, Renthal fat bars, better hand protection, things like that, just to make it a bit more rugged off-road and less likely to break if I do come off it.
Right, and we were talking earlier today about the kinds of things you've been using it for, and I know people always talk about adventure bikes never getting used for adventures or being used off-road. You're an ex-motocrosser, you can ride bikes off-road, so what kind of stuff have you been using it for?
I've always said, anyone who asks me about the bike, I always say it's a Swiss Army bike of knives. It'll do anything you want it to do. You can commute on it, you can go for a Sunday blast on it, you can go and get muddy in streams, you can just do anything with it. It's just a fantastic bike just to ride around.
Is there anything that you would say would be, not necessarily a negative, but the things that you like less about it?
There are a couple of little niggles with the bike. The cush drives wear very quickly, so you either need to mod them or there's a few little mods you can do with them, with like bits of inner tube and stuff like that to make it a bit better. They suffer a little bit. They've got like a little flat spot as through the rev range, but you can't just ride around. You get used to it and ride around. They've all got it apparently, so that's the only real 2 niggles that I've got about it, I think.
Yeah. Of course, the proof of the pudding is always in the eating, and we are going to go and ride the bike because, of course, I want to have a go riding it. But it's Jay's bike, so I'm going to let him do most of the off-road riding because just in case I drop it.
Right, let's get muddy.
Let's go. Tenere hasn't been around quite as long as the northeastern Niger desert that it takes its name from, but it has been around in various guises for a long old while. In the mists of time, we had the XT500 and then the XTZ600, which at the time was one of the most popular enduros. It grew and developed with the XTZ660 between 1991 and 1999. The XT600Z Tenere that we've got our mitts on today sprang forth from the fruity loins of the iconic 90s bike and has been in production since 2008. Now, I've got to hold my hands up and say that I started with pretty low expectations of this machine. I'd heard bad things about a vibey engine, top heavy weight, lackluster performance, odd seating position and even some fuel injection glitches. However, as I walked up to the bike, I liked its looks. I liked it a lot. It reminded me of tall fronted rally bikes, which I've always thought looked the dog's whatsits. It looks like it's going to do what it says on the tin, and does it ever. I love the fact that it's got the built-in front towing hoop. It's stating the bike's intentions in quiet but firm tones. It says, "It doesn't matter what you throw at me, I'll find a way out of it. Come on, my son, let me show you just how tough I am. I can handle anything, come on." This bike is like adventure bikers from the last 10 years. More of us than ever are taking on better and better challenges, even though we might just be a little heavier. But we're so much more sophisticated. Okay, so back to the real world again. To be entirely fair, this particular bike has handlebar risers and an acro exhaust system. So the off-road stand-up geometry felt bang on for me, and the exhausts take quite a handful of kilos off the top weight. It's only 185 kilos dry to start with, so this bike might well be down near 175. And the seat is remarkably comfy for a bike of this stature. It shares the same engine with the 2006-14 MT-03 and post-2007 Aprilia Pegaso 650. And whilst it puts out a shade under 50 horsepower, I didn't really care. It was enough to have fun on, and that's what this bike does with little compromise. I didn't really feel the much maligned vibes either. As singles go, I thought it was fine. So the forks dive a bit under braking, dual calipers up front no less, but that's just part and parcel of these slightly older adventure bikes. Jay had pointed out to me that strong rally raid type panels are fixed to vulnerable areas like the Tenere's fuel tank and engine, and are designed to prevent excessive damage in a fall. Apparently the tank covers are only a few quid each and are designed to be replaceable items, so you don't need to spoil the bike's scorchio ready lines with ugly scaffolding of engine protection bars. Out on the open road, that tall rally style screen makes a fairly oasis-like little pocket of air, which I was more than happy to spend time in. Today we were riding wet roads with dual purpose tyres, and even so, the only time I was aware of the off-road geometry was as I increased the pace of the turn and the front tended to tuck in a little, but it did nothing to halt my fun. This is a bike that importantly isn't trying to be anything other than what it is. I really liked it. It's not fast, but it's fast enough. It's a proper modern dual purpose machine. It doesn't compromise road or trail performance at the expense of the other. You could ride it to work Monday to Thursday, ride motorway to central France on Friday, and then drop your bags off and do some rallying across the whole weekend. There's not much in this capacity and price bracket which could boast that. It doesn't really compete with the Triumph Tiger, which is a far more road-biased machine. I'd say you'd be glancing between a CCM 450 and maybe a KTM 950 Adventure. But the CCM would be more expensive and you'd shake your nuts off at motorway speeds. The KTM is 20 kilos heavier, it won't feel as good off-road, and you'd be buying a much older bike. You could argue for a Husky 701 or a 690 Enduro R, but they'd be less forgiving on tarmac, and your wallet. The 660 kind of stands out on its own in many ways. It is its own little bubble of genuine dual sport adventureness. Is that even a real word? Oh, who cares? That's what it says on the tin. I said that earlier, didn't I? I did. Now I'm answering my own questions. Second sign of madness.
Okay, well, we've been riding the bike in the drizzle, although it's not too cold today, which is quite good.
And I have to say, I was really pleasantly surprised by how much I like this bike. I'd heard stuff about how vibey it was beforehand, and that, you know, actually quite a lot of negativity around it, but I really, really enjoyed riding it. And I think the under 50 horsepower actually doesn't matter. It pulls really strongly, it's fun to ride. And even though on paper, with a full tank of fuel, it's 205 kilos, it felt much lighter, and it feels, particularly Jay's bike, 'cause it's got the handlebar risers, like a bike that is really built to go off-road, which it is. It's a genuine dual-purpose bike. And I think if I was going to think about that kind of class of bike, dual-purpose, under 800cc, I'd be struggling to think of a bike I'd rather have. And obviously, Jay, you bought it, you got it, you love it.
Yep.
You agree with all those things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with any bike like this, tyre choice is a big factor when obviously buying new tyres. I went for the new Anarchy Wild now that they do 21 inch front. I just think they're brilliant. It just emphasises the strengths of the bike so much better. It handles so much better off road. The tyres give me the grip I need in the wet. Well, today with all the drizzle and stuff like that, it just seemed planted, and I think it's just the way to go with it. Or tyre choice on an adventure bike is very, very important.
And what about the things you've got left to do with it? What have you got left to do?
There are a few things I want to do to it. I want to change the front end. I want to put the WR450 front end on, single brake disc conversion on the front, upgrade the rear shock, and try and change as much stuff on it for titanium as I can. Just give it a bit of a weight loss, send it on a bit of a diet. You all need one now and again, but it definitely needs to go on a bit of a diet, I think.
Cool. Okay. And I guess I'm going to finish off with my usual question, which is, will I have one of these in my garage? And it's an equivocal yes.
Our panniers are built from the highest grade 2mm aluminium. Metal Mule. Engineered to be different. Proud sponsors of the bike reviews on Adventure Bike TV.